Hi all, welcome to the Marquee Matchups for the 7th of April. Apologies for this being up super late, just with foot birthday SBCs and so forth. Been doing a lot of stuff in behind the scenes. But if you can smash links, be awesome. Sub to the channel if you're new. Follow me on Twitter, G the Legend. All the links are down below for playlists and channel and social media links. As always, we had a decent week with the Marquee Matchups and pet the rewards weren't too great, but plenty of routes as usual. So let's jump into the Marquee Matchups. First route of the week is the Central Coast Mariners versus the Newcastle Jets. This has a good shout, one of the lesser derbies though in Australia, but you would need one player, 11 from the A-League, 2 or 3 rare players, maybe even 4 at a push, 5 or 6 Australian players might make it an all Australian team, 60 overall rating, 3 to 4k for cost and reward, 5 out of 10 for likelihood. All players pack would be your reward. If this was to crop up, it would make me think that the A-League SBC could be due to happen, and also the season is due to finish soon, so we might not get this SBC, this route. It might be another time. Nantes versus Saint Etienne is like one of the big games in France. It's like the two most like historic clubs in France. If you do your history, like this is a big game, and I fancy this heavily this week. One player from both teams, 11 from the league, 4 rare players, 4 nations at least, maybe even an emphasis on French. Just because of the nature of the league. 78, 79 overall, 68k for cost, being pushed to 10k depending on what routes they opt for, 46k for a reward and a 7 out of 10 for likelihood. I really fancy this and I will be throwing Gemma in just due to ratings. Bayern Dortmund is another good shout. This is their Klassiker in Germany. Despite having Berlin and Hoffenheim, this has a very strong shout this week. There is another German game that might sneak in this week, so keep that in mind. But Bayern and Dortmund, one player from both teams might even push to 2, 11 from the Bundesliga, 4 rares, 4 nations, at least 79 overall, but probably most likely will be pushing to 80. 6 to 8k for cost, 46k reward and 7 out of 10 for likelihood. As with the A-League option, if this crops up, then the Bundesliga SBC is going to come up sooner than later, because this route will be expensive and draining our club. PAOK versus Panathinaikos I can't see happening just because of we had the Greek option a few weeks ago, and I doubt they will do this again so suddenly, but still would be one player from both teams, 2 leagues at least, 4 rares, 3 nations, 75 overall rating. You're probably going to be looking at a mix of like Greek, German, Spanish, Italian. There's different ways you could hybridise this. I just went with a Bundesliga 2 and a German, La Liga 1, 2, 3 route, sorry, but I don't fancy this, but it still has a good shout for this week. Rosenborg versus Molde, I fancied this for this week, but because we had Rosenborg last week, it kind of for this week it kind of threw me off course. So that might suggest we might have a Swedish route, but I doubt it because there's no real games in Sweden this week that stand out. But if this option was to happen, one player from both Rosenborg and Molde, 11 from the league, 7 clubs exactly, 7 Norway players. Maybe even focus on nations as a requirement. 3 to 4k, 46k reward, might give you a jumbo silver pack, could be actually quite decent, and they generally do pay out at a 3 out of 10 likelihood. Madrid Derby for me has a very strong shout. Both teams obviously heavily contested. One player from both Atletico and Real, 11 from the league, 6 to 8 clubs I think they might focus on, try and ease people to submit their La Liga BBVA players. 6 or 7 rare players, maybe even an emphasis on nations, so like maybe Spanish or just a mix it all together. 80 overall would be a very likely option. 7 to 9 pushing to 10k for cost, 5 to 7k reward with a gold players pack and a 7, maybe even push to 8 out of 10 for a likelihood. I really fancy it. Young Boys versus Basel is one of the lighter routes of the week. This has a really strong shout. If it doesn't happen, then to be honest, Basel ain't going to crop up anytime soon. I'm also sure this happened earlier in the year and it did crop up. But one player from both Young Boys and Basel, 11 from the Swiss League, 7 clubs minimum, 5 nations, maybe an emphasis on rare players, so ignore my route in a sense and look at some of the rare players within the league. I've got tons, I just went for a non-rare route. 70 overall rating, 3 to 5k for cost and reward and a 6 out of 10 for likelihood. Legia Warsaw versus Lech Poznan is one of the derbies in Poland. It's like the city derbies. It's like when it's Warsaw versus Poznan. Be one player from both teams, 11 from the league, 7 clubs, 5 nations. Maybe an emphasis on rare players as before. 65 overall at least, maybe even push to 67. I doubt it'll push to 70. That's kind of like overkill. 3 to 5k cost and reward and a 4 out of 10 for likelihood. I don't fancy this because there has been countless other games within the Polish league. They haven't shown up at all. and I get the feeling that we aren't going to get a Polish route anytime soon. And Karlsruhe versus Stuttgart is the alternative German route. This is like one of the big derbies in Germany between both respective teams, and with it being in the second Bundesliga, this might be missed out. But it's 1 player from both teams, 11 from the Bundesliga 2, 7 clubs, 5 nations, 65 overall, 35k for cost and reward. Might even push to 67 to 69 overall, but 5 out of 10 likely. I don't fancy it. Their classic are too big to miss out. But all in all, some strong routes this week. Let me know in the comments below if there is any other routes that I've missed out. I'll get Marquee Matchups, no risk trading up tomorrow. Take it easy all, thanks for watching, remember to smash a like, sub to the channel for now, follow me on Twitter, G is Legend, and I will catch you all later.